Hello everyone, we are starting this second chapter of Higurashi When They Cry. I think I have my settings set well, but what an see the most possibilities. How was your taste of life in Hinamizawa? A curse or a conspiracy? I believe you have fully enjoyed everything and everyone seeming suspicious. Here at last. It is no surprise attack, but a real, direct incident. Please enjoy it. Wait, what? The difficulty is lower than Onikakushi, but is extremely vicious. Wait, what difficulty was there in Onikakushi? What? Okay. Laughter. I will not quench your thirst, for you seek the truth and could not accept that. I will not quench your thirst, for the truth you desire does not exist. But I still want to quench your thirst, for I am the one who cast you into the desert. Frederica Bernkastel. Magic language. This is a work of fiction. No one is real. 1983, the early summer of the 58th year of the Showa era. Higurashi no naku. The chirping of birds served as my alarm clock. Huh? Wasn't today Sunday? Wasn't it basically my style to stay up late on Saturday and sleep through the morning on Sunday? Why was I waking up at this disgustingly wholesome hour? Back to sleep, back to sleep. This degenerately wholesome hour. Keiichi, are you awake? You have a phone call. At that moment, the sound of my mother calling me from downstairs finally registered. Phone call? I sprang up out of bed abruptly and stampeded noisily down the stairs. He's awake. I'll put him on right now, my mother informed the person on the other end of the line. Hello? It's me. Who might this be? Morning, Keiichi-kun. You're such a sleepyhead. Such a sleepyhead. Oh, Rena, what's up calling so early in the morning? Slow it down a bit more, because I will regret it otherwise. In the future. I think it's like my old settings before I went to the ending of the previous game. Oh, a bit more, just in case. Music's a bit loud. Ah, I don't think it's so early. It's the middle of the day, you know. It was 11 o'clock. I guess you could loosely consider that the middle of the day. So what's up? Hold on a second. I'll put Michan on now. Ohio, Kei-chan. I guess she said good morning and they... Oh. If I were to say it in English, that'd be good morning. Eat your hamburgers. While we're at it, why don't you try saying it in Chinese, German, and Russian as well? Ni hao, Kei-chan. Guten Morgen, Kei-chan. Russian? Das vidanya. How the hell should I know? Well, whatever. This stupid conversation has woken me up. That's good to hear. So, Kei-chan, you free right now? If you're good, then we've got everybody. Everybody? Did she mean all the club members? That's right. You might be thinking, every day always ends in heated competition, but at least I can spend my day off peacefully. You're too naive, Kei-chan. Yeah. The aim of our club is to find the best solution for every situation. In other words, we don't care if it's the weekend. Oh, looks like Kei-chan has come to understand our club. So, how about it? Can you come? I had absolutely nothing planned that day. Today. If I were to refuse Club President Mion's invitation, what other fun ways to pass the time would I have? It's not like I planned on doing anything. And if I said no, you'd probably just declare me the loser by default and force a penalty game on me anyways. If you understand that much, then you can't refuse, right? If you're okay with it, then meet at the usual place at 1 o'clock. We're going into town, so bring your bike, okay? Club activities in town? Well, we could do them anywhere. Besides, since it was a new venue, there was no way this wasn't going to be intense. I'm holding a pretty big grudge from that narrow loss a couple days ago. I'll say it right now, I'm not going to lose. A couple of days ago was Friday's club activities. That uncompromising poker match. It was a fight to the death. Nobody held back. Nobody could tell who was in the lead or who was last until all the points were tallied. In the end, I won by only 1 chip. Mion came in second. Damn it! To think, if I hadn't squandered that 1 chip. Mion lamented thus, perhaps more so than the fact that she lost the match. Mion doesn't lose. That's why Mion only whined when she let the champion's throne slip through her fingers. That's why she was more frustrated than anybody over a close loss. So, did she mean for today to be a grudge match? Bring it on. Just like last time, I'll shut you down and make you play that penalty game. Make sure you play in a way that you won't regret it when you lose. Wouldn't have it any other way. It'll make it all the more better when I crush you. After that, we exchanged jeers for a bit before hanging up the phone. As I headed back upstairs hastily to get the key to my bike, I bumped into my mother as she was carrying a futon down. Oh, Keiichi, you seem like you're in a good mood. Heading out? Something like that. I'm going to town to play with everybody. Take care. Watch out for traffic. Be back before dinner. Yeah, I'll be back by then. After unlocking the chain for my bike in the garage, I reveled a bit in the resistance the slightly stiff pedal gave as I pushed on it. Alright, let's go. I set off on my bike, cutting through the refreshing morning air. Keiichi-kun! You're late! You're late! Ah, sorry to keep you waiting. Huh? Where are Satoko and Rika-chan? Rather than meeting up with them here, it's a lot quicker to just meet up in town. Oh, I see. If I remember correctly, Satoko and Rika-chan's houses were on the other side past the school. Oh yeah, what's up with doing club activities in town? It can't be that everybody's going to put on masks and rob banks all day. I mean, that'd make for a good day, but... I wouldn't mind doing that. See? Even then, I wouldn't lose to you. You see, Mii-chan always tells me the routes and schedules of the armored bank cars. I wonder why. I wonder why. What? I spun around with a serious look on my face and looked at Mion. Well, it certainly seemed possible that Mion was capable of doing that. Seriously, Mion? Rana! What are you saying? Sorry, Mii-chan. Sorry. The two of them joked around. That bright laughter was the best match for a beautiful day like today. Hey, you two! Satoko and Rika-chan are waiting for us, aren't they? Let's stop fooling around and get going. Around and around, fooling about like 2 fluttering butterflies. I earnestly wished I could just keep watching them like this. But the 5 of us together would be absolutely more fun. That's right. Well then, let's go. The goal is to plunder 1 million. Once we split the loot, everybody scram. Yeah! The 3 of us on our bikes headed over the gently sloping hill towards town. Accelerating hard, we crested the hill. The view expanded as Okunomiya Station came into sight. I occasionally came to the station here. Considering the amount of effort it takes to get here, though, it was quite a hassle. That's why I didn't know much about the area around the station, or Okunomiya itself for that matter. The street we were headed down today was of course unfamiliar to me as well. Going through the railway crossing, we headed past the south end of the station. This is the first time I've been this way. Around here, there's lots of things like arcades and toy stores. Mii-chan knows a lot about it. So there's an arcade. I used to go to one pretty often. My gamer's blood roils within me. Always going to an arcade? Kei-chan, you're quite the delinquent. Next time we're here, I'll show you where it is. It's a good one. There's quite a few machines. It seemed like the town of Okonomiya was Mion's stomping grounds. If I asked her, she could tell me a lot of things about it. Eventually, we came across a store with quite a few bikes parked in front of it. Was this the arcade? No, it was a smaller shop. Looking at the window display, it seemed like your everyday toy shop. But for almost 10 kids to be filing in and out of the store, they were doing almost too well for themselves. Could it be that store is having some kind of event today? Exactly. Top prize is 50,000 yen. 50,000? That's like $500. What the heck is that? That's the GNP of the People's Republic of Keiji 5 times over. Two cute figures messing about the front of the store noticed us and waved their hands. Hello, everybody. We've been waiting for you. Good morning. Hey. Morning, Rika-chan. Satsuko. We'll settle this before the cops get here. The goal is to plunder 1 billion. Huh? Keiji-san, I have no idea what you're talking about. Are we late? Did we keep you two waiting? We finished early today, so we've been waiting a while. I'm sorry about that. Keiji-chan here was taking his sweet time. Well, if it was Keiichi's fault, it couldn't be helped. Saying that, Rika-chan stretched up and began patting Mion's head. Hey, wait a minute. Are you solving everything by making me the bad guy? Of course. Who else but Keiichi-san could fill this important role? Oh, I don't like being cast like that. If you think that this will solve everything, you're sorely mistaken. I was feeling slightly irritated, so I began to repeatedly smack Satsuko on the head. Smack, 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 smack. KK's bullying me. Wah! It's such a shame that Keiichi's bullying you. Satsuko's crying. She's crying. I'm taking her home. Your big sis here will take care of the bad guy, okay? Wham! Rena ecstatically wiped the tears, which were probably fake, from Satsuko's face, while Rika-chan gently patted mine as they sprawled on the ground. Yes, this is fine. Yep, this is the way things are supposed to be solved. Although I think we should find a new punchline before you start losing teeth. Well then, upsy daisy. In any case, the greeting for today went well. Inside the toy shop, there were about 10 boys around the same age as me. Apparently they all knew Mion, and finding out that she had arrived, they greeted her with jeers a few at a time. Mi-chan is a regular at this toy shop, so she has a lot of friends. A regular at a toy shop? What's up with that? Hey, Keiichi-san, take a look back here. Following Satsuko's prompting, I took a look. There were chairs lined up at tables, almost like some sort of birthday party. I realized it immediately. It couldn't be. This is the venue for today's club activities? Surprise, Kei-chan? I'm good friends with the owner here. He sometimes lets me hold game tournaments to expand his customer base. Expand his customer base? I see. Meaning all the boys livening up the place were participants? That's right. Normally it's just us 5, but today we're going to play with lots and lots of people. Ren was innocently happy about being able to play with so many people, but my expressions grew noticeably stern. Keiichi-san, I know exactly what you're thinking. Oh? Well then, why don't you try saying it? Together, okay? 1, 2... These are all enemies. Satsuko's voice and mine blended together in harmony. We looked over at the participants. After all, the top prize was 50,000 yen. My eyes lit up like a flame. Hey, Kei-chan. It looks like today will be fun. Well, no matter how many more rivals I have, the goal is still the same. Rivals? Kei-chan. Do you think a whale keeps track of all the krill it eats? She said that in an unpleasant voice, laughing with the aggressive glint in her eyes reserved solely for club activities. Damn it, Mion. She's as serious as she can get today. I'm not the only one who's serious. Take a look at Rika-chan. Mion pointed, looking at where her finger directed me. What the heck is that? Rika-chan was using those kinds of traits to soften up the group with an almost excessive pleasantness. I'm also going to do my best. Go for it. Yay. Go for it. Yay. Completely emasculated, the group joined Rika-chan in a cheer. The inside of the store had been consumed by the world of Rika-chan. Zawaldo. Damn, she's already chomping at the bit. It seems like today's going to be fun. I'm going to do my best. Oh. It seemed that Rena was also unusually fired up by the large crowd. Hopping about and running around, she had entered entirely into cute mode. In Rena's case, the real fun starts when her retention gauge fills up. Her happy-go-lucky attitude belied the fact that this was the state in which she was most threatening. Man was making small talk with some of the regular customers she was acquainted with. It was like business as usual with her. Of course, if anybody thought that Mion looked ordinary, they were not qualified to be in our club. The shadow beneath her feet was exuding killer instinct, rising up like a chill wind. Damn it, Mion, throwing away her honor and humanity like that? She's serious. Keiichi-san, didn't you know? The 50,000 prize is from Mion-san's own pockets. What? She was putting out the 50,000 yen all by herself? At that moment, a dark miasma that warped Mion's surroundings began to appear. What is it, Kei-chan? Is there something on my face? A shiver crept up my spine. That Mion, cornering herself like that. She was pulling out the demon lurking within her. Fine with me. Damn it, my knees are shaking like crazy. Before I realized it, the store had filled up with even more people. However, the looks in their eyes weren't confrontational. They were looks of expectation and curiosity. They were the eyes of onlookers who were wondering what kind of match was going to occur and who was going to win. I'm actually curious about something. Just curious about the Japanese they have. Oju. Yep, no furigana. So I can't read most of this. Thank you. You couldn't ask for a better stage than this. This is getting interesting. Keiichi-kun, let's do our best, okay? Do our best. Ho! Rena was already fully charged. Mortal laws and common sense held no power before the might of Rena in her cute mode. I definitely didn't want to fight her, if possible. Rika-chan, do your best. We're all cheering you on. Okay. I'll do my best. Rika-chan, who was exuding way too much charm no matter how you looked at it, had already won over most of the onlookers to her side. Nonchalantly avoiding things had always been Rika-chan's creed, but for her to be blatantly laying out her machinations like this, something was definitely strange. Like Rena, she was somebody who I didn't want to fight if I could help it. Of course, the one you don't want to fight the most is Mion-san. I've been lucky to even leave alive more than a few times at the end of club activities, but I don't think there was a day that even came close to being this dangerous. Mion-san seems to have developed quite the grudge after losing that poker match a few days back, you know? It seems that way. In other words, today is just an elaborate stage for her revenge. Almost as though she was psychic, Mion turned towards us. That should be a was, no? Oh no, word's fine, I guess. Almost as though she was. Yeah. Her eyes silently conveyed the message. You guys just figured that out now? It wasn't just Mion. Both Rena and Rika-chan were more pumped up than they'd ever been. Yeah. One's gonna pop up today. Without a doubt, there'll be casualties. Seems that somehow Keiichi-san and I are the only ones left. What do you think? Should we not have our match during the opening round? Might as well. I need to warm up before I can really kick it into gear. My spinal column shuddered like it had been struck by a bolt of lightning, and like a pillar of ice was being jammed into it, began to freeze. I could almost see the flames backlighting Satoko with their intensity. Even then, while Satoko was displaying a normal smile, it was cold and inhuman, almost as if it were a plastic mask. You must really want to eliminate me in the opening round. You can't hide that murderous intent. Oh, that's too bad. You're being uncharacteristically cautious today, Cage-san. Oh, Without a doubt, it was a trap. I don't know what she had up her sleeve, but if I fought with Satoko during the opening round, my loss would be more certain than if I went against Mion. A pitch-black miasma permeated the inside of the store. Did they all want to win that 50,000 yen prize that much? No, that's not right. The only ones competing for the prize money were the casual participants. I was different. I had mistaken this as just a way to fool around on a normal Sunday. It didn't matter when it was, or where it was, or who our opponents were. In our club, the goal is always the very top of the mountain. An intense flame that no strong winds could extinguish, hot enough to melt any steel, began to burn inside me. The fuse had been lit on this unprecedentedly intense club battle. It was then that the owner of the store told Mion in a lackadaisical voice that it was about time to begin. Is everybody ready? Listen close now. Mion began with the formalities, standing in front of the owner, and explained the rules of today's tournament. You're only playing to win. There is no second or third place. That's the same rule as our club. There were 15 people participating. We were to split up into 5 groups via a draw, and each group would have 1 winner. Each winner in the first stage would advance to the next in order to compete in the final. Now, as for how each group will compete, each table can decide to play whatever they want. As long as the game is here in the shop, anything goes. Already in club mode DEFCON 1, I didn't let the small gap in the rules go unnoticed. Mion, can I ask a question? Won't everybody push to play a game they're good at and not be able to agree on which one? Oh, that's right. If we can't decide, we can't start. The spectators also nodded along. It was only natural. There wasn't anybody who would simply cede to their opponent's suggestion. I'd prefer if you were all good sports and managed to come to a decision on your own, but if it comes to a stalemate, should we have the store's owner decide for you? It was an event at a toy store, after all. You'd expect the owner to referee. After that, Mion's rundown continued. It ended with the rule that any losing participants would have to buy the game they lost at. A rather nice proposition for the store. Yeah, that's a lot of earned money. First, we used a draw to split into 5 groups. Everybody lined up single file and began to draw tickets that the owner had prepared. It was my turn. Alright, time to draw. No matter who I was up against, I'd crush him. At that moment, Mion began to laugh with a hawkish gleam in her eye. Of course, I'm sure you already know, but club members will have a separate penalty game than the casual participants. I thought as much. What's the gist of it? The winner gets to give the losers 1 order each. Contrary to how simple it sounded, it was a terrifying eventuality, the subject of which no one could predict. Damn you, Mion. Was she really planning on parading me around in cat ears and a banana hammock with a tail attached or something? The look on Mion's face told me she wasn't going to let me off that easy. On top of that, this time it wasn't just the person who finished last who'd have to submit to the penalty game. The losers get 1 order each. In other words, even if you don't finish last, you still have to do a penalty game. That'd be the case. What about if there's no winner? Like if all the club members drop out midway through? Kei-chan, are you alright in the head? What? The look in Mion's eyes became that of a lion baring its fangs. How exactly are the elite members of our club going to lose to some mewling newborns? Kei-chan, don't embarrass me by getting eliminated in the first round. Even so, I didn't feel threatened. The more into it my opponent was, the stronger I would become. You just wait and see. I won't just sit here and be bullied by you, Mion. I'll show you. We shall meet in the finals. The results of the draw were enough to make you cry conspiracy. All the members of the club were nicely divvied up amongst the 5 tables. How did this happen when the draw was that random? The thought that I was already caught in Mion's puppet strings made me feel uneasy. That was fine, though. I'll crush all your petty tricks. Now, where were my opponents? Everybody was headed to the table corresponding to the number on their ticket. The competition at my table was, these two, huh? They look younger than me. Huh? Aren't you 2 classmates of mine? Oh, hi. I'm Tomita. This is Okamura. Okamura-kun greeted me by nodding his head. So my opening round was to be against my juniors from school. Just saying, but it seemed like a pretty easy matchup. Lucky. Time to destroy them without mercy. Alright then, everybody. Please decide on your games and start. With Mion's declaration, the inside of the store suddenly became lively. Everybody was yelling their favorite games at each other, trying to gain an advantage before they started. Even my 2 classmates, who seemed taciturn at first glance, began to fiercely insist on their own games as soon as the signal was given. Of course, I would kick those suggestions aside. There was absolutely no reason to pick a game your opponent was good at. Sorry, they're all games I don't know. Could you pick something a little more well-known? Of course, they didn't agree with the games I suggested either. I can only smirk bitterly. Naturally, after 5 minutes, this table still couldn't agree on a game. Obeying the rules, we asked the store manager to decide on a game. Clearing his throat, the shop owner brought over a board game from the back of the store. It was a game called Billionaire. Quite the vintage we have here. Come to think of it, if you lose, you have to buy this game. That damn shop owner. Was he using this competition to get rid of all the games he couldn't sell? I know this one. You guys do too, right? Spin the wheel and head to the goal. Whoever has the most money after we liquidate our assets is the winner. The 2 nodded in agreement, and finally the game was underway. It sounds like the game of life. At that time, I already had a feeling of impending crisis. I wouldn't realize why until the game progressed for a bit. One, two, three, four. Celebrate the birth of your child. Receive $5,000 from everybody. Sorry. Okay, I built a bit of a lead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bonus. Receive $100,000 from the bank. Whoop. The tables were turned in an instant. Proceed to the corporate ladder course. Whoa, that's a good route. It seemed like only my piece was landing on the steady spaces. I had doubts as to why Mion didn't bring out board games for club activities, but that reason was laid bare to me before my eyes. That's right. I had only realized it now. This game was completely based on luck. What could I possibly do to make sure I ended up in first place at the end? The ultimate outcome of this game was decided in a place beyond human hands. How were the other club members doing? My eyes naturally wandered off to the other tables. Mion's table was, what? They weren't doing anything? Had they still not decided on a game? This naive idea existed to distract me from the most frightening possibility. Mion was lounging about, leisurely holding some juice she bought from the vending machine outside it in one hand. When our eyes met, she gave me a look of ease. It couldn't be. She'd already finished? What game was it? That easily? It was probably too late to be concerned with that at this point. Only 5 minutes since we started, and her 2 opponents were already beyond recourse. They were sitting there, slumped over in disappointment, muttering to themselves, trying to figure out where they went wrong. For that, they'd find no answer. Was there any reason for their defeat other than they sat at the same table as Mion? Then, what about Rena's table? The spectators were causing quite a commotion. It looked like their game was Karata. The shop owner was apparently the one reading out the cards. Rena tended to dawdle along and space out a lot. Wouldn't she have a hard time with this game? Then I'll read it out. The dog gets tired on a walk. Bam! At the same instant, the shop owner began sounding out the words. The card in question disappeared off the face of the table. No, the face of the earth. Impossible. Where did it go? It was against Reina's cheek. She was rubbing it there. Oh, so cute. I'm taking it home. Looking at the card Reina was rubbing against her cheek, it was some anime-themed version of Karata, with rather cute moe illustrations decorating the cards. Basically, it was a picture of a pretty dog girl with a slightly large chest, panting and half in tears as she was being pulled along on a chain. With those types of pictures, even I could play with godlike speed. Of all people to play that game, it had to be Reina. It was entirely possible that her fingertips were on the verge of breaking the sound barrier. It's over. Mion smiled coolly. Seeing no further reason to keep watching, she turned back. So cute, so cute. Even if Reina wins, I'll still buy these cards. I'm taking them home. Oh. After that, the second the card started being read out, bam, bam. Such decisive sounds echoed. Well then, how about Satoko? Oh, she was playing a rather orthodox game. Concentration. Judging from the distressed look on Satoko's face, it seems that she was struggling somehow. One of the main characteristics of concentration is that the pace of the game speeds up as it goes on. As the number of cards to memorize decreases, it becomes easier to match several pairs in a row. It wouldn't be exaggeration to say that the first person to take over the flow of the match can run away as the winner. The cards still in play had decreased. If you memorize the cards that had been turned over before, you should have a good chance to sweep the table at this point. Satoko probably knew the positions of all the remaining cards. However, her turn came a little too late. If her opponent followed up, the match would be decided. Hojo, sorry, but I'm also aiming for the prize money. Don't hate me for this. This guy, did he have the locations of the remaining cards memorized? He was completely certain of his victory. The tension on his face relaxed. It's over. I whispered that in a bored manner as I turned my attention back to my own game. I spun the wheel. 5. What? No way! The Ace of Hearts should have been here! There was a commotion at Satoko's table as the shout rang out. The other two at my table turned around in surprise. I didn't. After all, there really wasn't anything to be surprised about. The onlookers were confounded, most of them certain that the Ace of Hearts should have been there. There's no way. I must be seeing things. It must have been because I was excited. So assured in his victory, the distress over his defeat ran deep. That's how it is. If his opponent wasn't Satoko, then the Ace of Hearts certainly would have been there. What a fool. When you're up against Satoko, you can't let your guard down for a moment until the battle is over. Keiichi-san, you still haven't finished your match? You have no sense for these things. With a refined tone of voice reserved for only winners, Satoko called out to me. For the casual observer, it must have looked like she only eked out a victory. From my point of view, however, she was only playing around. The roles of winner and loser had already been decided. It was nothing more than child's play. The laughable part about it was that her opponent didn't know his role had already been assigned. Nice work there, setting up a farce of a trap with the Ace of Hearts. My opponent only walked into one of my traps. Even then, one was more than enough. Satoko was a trapper. Her true talent was never having one misfire. Setting off only one trap was more than enough? Ain't that cool? The fact that the other club members were winning one after another with their own brand of play only added to my impatience at my own lack of progress. Oh right, how is Rika-chan doing? How is our club's sly little fox doing? What the heck is that? Over in that corner, the mood at that table was decidedly different from the others. The game at Rika-chan's table was, you know that battery-powered fishing game? The one where the fish opened and closed their mouths as they rotated on the platform, and you used a magnetic fishing rod to pick them up? That old thing. It seemed they planned on competing by seeing who could catch the most fish, but it had become an atmosphere you could hardly call competitive. Wow, I caught one! You're so good! Rika-chan, you're good at this. Oh my, she caught another one. Rika-chan is really good at this. I knew that Rika-chan had already charmed her opponents along with the onlookers before the matches had even begun, but brilliantly played. That corner had become an informal meeting of the Rika Furude fan club. It's Rika-chan's total victory! Total victory! Rika-chan's good at fishing, isn't she? What Rika-chan is trolling for probably isn't fish. Hearing that, she glanced over my way briefly. This is my way of getting serious. That's what I heard. This is a masterful technique that only Rika is allowed. Only Rika can do. Yeah, a masterful technique. My brother-san, it's your turn. Oh, sorry. Guess it is. 2. Fined for tax evasion. Pay $50,000. In contrast, my game, what an unseemly situation this was. Noticing the uneasiness creeping across my face, my companions came to see how I was doing. Huh, Keiichi-kun, could it be that you're struggling? You're struggling? Okumura, right now, how much money do you have? Okumura, who had wrung lots of money out of the elite course, began to count through a stack of white $100,000 bills. About $980,000, I think. How much money do you have, Tomita? I have $880,000. I'm still close enough to turn this around. Those two, it looks like they would easily surpass $1 million. Well, Kei-chan, how much do you have? Mion's tone of voice was grim from the get-go. It was her disappointment and disgust as club president. It can't be helped. There's no strategy involved other than spinning the wheel in this game. How am I supposed to cheat? Tell those two to close their eyes and count to 100 while I rig the wheel? You know there's no way I can do that. Rika-chan gently pat my head. Still, she wasn't too happy. How pathetic. At one point I thought you'd be a worthy adversary. I've been utterly disillusioned. Don't give up, Keiichi-kun. There has to be some way to make a comeback. Do your best. Right till the end. Like I said, how am I supposed to make a comeback with this game relying entirely on luck? Right, Mion? Mion's face, however, was almost unbelievably indifferent, like she was watching something completely unexciting. She then turned her back without saying a word. Hey, me? It was a pathetic voice that irked even myself. I'm disappointed. Everybody was serious about this, but Kei-chan was the only one who wasn't. What do you mean by serious? Are you telling me to control the spinner through sheer force of will? How can I do that? If you were serious about it, you would have settled this game 10 seconds from when you started. Miki-chan, you don't have to get so angry. Wait. Mion, in a bad mood, cast me aside and disappeared into the depths of the shop. Maybe it was because it had become an awkward situation, but the spectators dispersed from around my table. Damn it, are you saying I'm not serious about this? Are you saying if I were serious I would have settled this game of chance in 10 seconds? If I were serious. If I were serious! Everybody was praying for my victory. They believed in me. Did I betray their expectations? Was it because I wasn't serious? Should we continue the game? The two of them were timidly trying to receive me play. I didn't respond to that. The table sunk into silence. Marbar-kun, should I take that to mean you're giving up? The owner, thinking I was forfeiting, started to announce the cancellation of the game. At that moment, the demon inside me let loose a howl and awakened. I get it now, Mion. What it means for me to be serious. I'll show you! Bam! I clamped my hands on their shoulders, speaking in a low voice after pulling them closer. Tomita-kun, Okumura-kun, let's make a deal. Let me win. The two of them, not immediately understanding what I had just said or the meaning behind it, were momentarily confused. Hey, Marbar-san, no violence. Let's sell this game properly. Just listen to what I have to say. What is it you guys want? The 50,000 yen prize? Well, of course. Winning that kind of money is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even supposing you win, what are you going to do with that money? How are you going to enjoy it? The two of them stared at it briefly. Buy a new game or something? Snacks? Maybe some juice. That's petty. So petty. Are you guys stupid? Then how will you enjoy it if you win, Maibara-san? Me? That's the point. Just shut up and listen to what I have to say. We club members have a penalty game separate from the casual participants. If we lose, we have to obey a single command from the winner. From another point of view, the winner earns the prize of being able to order the other club members around. First of all, Tomita-kun. You like Satoko, right? Don't deny it. Next, Okamura-kun. You like Rika, right? Don't turn red. I drew the two of them red-faced and conscious of whether anybody else heard what I just said even closer. Lollies. Moe. Pretty girls. What men covet. What men dream about. Boing. It's like an unreachable garden of Eden. Even then, you'd still aim for it, wouldn't you? That's because our passionate souls scream for Moe. That sensitive age when you couldn't say you liked the girl you liked. Understanding that gave me all the more power. Tomita-kun, if I win, I'll make Satoko wear a collar and be your little sister for a day. Psh! A red fountain spewed from both of Tomita-kun's nostrils. Also, Okamura-kun, I'll put cat ears on Rika-chan and let you take her out for a walk on a leash. Boing! Blood erupted from the vein in Okamura-kun's forehead. That... Don't be shy. Just pretend I forced you to go along with me. You two are simply sacrificed to Maibara-senpai's whims. You can pretend to be against it. I understand. I know everything that your hearts desire. Then, I suddenly lowered the tone of my voice. My school life was very bleak. I know with my very body how foolish it is to waste such an important time in your lives. So, to you, my juniors, I don't want you to live your lives like that. Be honest with yourselves. Chase your dreams. Fulfill them. I'll fulfill them for you. I will. It was this moment that the values of men bridged generations. Maibara-san! Did I ever have a mentor who ever spoke my mind for me so strongly? Never. There was no way there was. That's because in a man's lifetime, he'll only have 3 fateful encounters. That valuable first time was being experienced right this moment with these two. It's fine then. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Game over! It was such an assertive declaration of the game's ending that everybody in the store turned to look. It had been less than 3 minutes since I was on the verge of forfeit and all the spectators certain of my loss. Keiichi-san, what happened? Who won? It was my complete victory. What did you say? Exactly how did you overcome that situation? There's no need to explain what happened. It was a gentleman's agreement. Right, guys? Yes, sir. The two of them, stifling tears of gratitude, answered strongly from the bottom of their hearts. Exactly what kind of miracle occurred here during those 3 minutes the spectators all looked away from my utter disadvantage. You did it! You did it, Keiichi-kun! Yay! The spectators were puzzled at how I was able to so quickly overcome that hopeless situation. That guy, is he able to control the spinner wheel with his eyes or something? It's a miracle. What devilry is this? He's in cahoots with that Mion, you know. There's no doubt he had some strange trick up his sleeve. I looked at the crowd who couldn't help but be excited out of the corner of my eye. Now, fully awakened and in battle mode, I allowed a derisive laugh. So this is what it means for me to be serious. Mion. You took your sweet time. Baring our fangs at each other, we laughed together in a most unsightly fashion. With this, all the club members have cleared the first round then. Which means, this time, it's a match against everybody. A match. I've already decided what I'm going to buy with the prize money. That's only natural, right? Satoko and Rena smiled, sneered at each other. These guys. They really think they can win against Keiichi Maibara when he gets serious? Mion, that was a mistake. You shouldn't have offered me advice just now. What a mewling newborn you are. You're a million light years too early to think you can win against me. Mion, light years are a measure of distance. Exactly what I was thinking when she said that. Oh, she's embarrassed. She's embarrassed. What are we doing, Mii-chan? How are the 5 of us going to face off? Ow. Well now. We have such a splendid lineup. It would be a waste to rush things. Mii is saying something complicated again. It couldn't be. Why you? Mion's hair flowed elegantly, almost like a cape as she turned her back to the table. As for today's contest, I, Club President Mion Sonozaki, will reserve judgment for now. The method and time are yet undecided. The more spectators, the better. It should be in front of everybody from Hinamizawa and Okunomiya. By then, we'll know the best way to finally settle things. Are you running away from this? This is too unfair even for you, Mion-san. You newborn. Do you still not realize what has happened? The combative aura billowing out of Mion's body formed a barrier, stopping Satoko's advance. We'll meet again. Prepare yourself for your inevitable defeat. With a shrill laugh, Mion left the store. After a moment of silence, the crowd erupted into cheers. When will they resume the contest? Mion's serious. The other members did great too. That new guy, Maibara, he's got some strange power. He turned the tables in an instant. Maibara-san! You've got to win! Yeah, I'll dunk someone like Mion headfirst into the river Styx for you. The part of the crowd that had apparently overheard the covenant between Tomita-kun, Okamura-kun, and myself erupted into a cheer again. Mion's going to win anyways. She's the undefeated empress. I'm betting on Mion. No, it's going to be Rena with that ungodly speed. Satoko the trap artist. Rika the siren. It may be a long shot, but it'll be Maibara. However, right now I had no ear for those cheerful voices. Setting the stage for this huge match and then running away like that, I wasn't going to forgive Mion. Outside of the store, Mion was getting on her bike as the shop owner was seeing her off. Don't run away, Mion! If you're the club president, don't run! Fight me! Oh, sorry, Kei-chan. Right now, I've got to get to my part-time job. Huh? Like you would see in a sketch comedy show, my legs slipped in opposite directions until I was doing the splits. Yeah. While you were playing your game, Mii-chan received a phone call. It's too bad. It was just getting good, too. Not a lucky day. They're getting crushed at the sale over at my uncle's store. They don't have enough people to work the registers, so he called me for help. When you say your uncle, does he manage a supermarket or something? It's just a small store, but whenever you put stuff on special, all the housewives swarm in like locusts. Don't they have any common sense? Even though they don't have enough staff, they're selling a carton of eggs for 10 yen, limit 1 per customer. I was a little surprised. You would never think that this was the club president exuding such a dark aura inside the store just a short time ago. It was the usual Mion right now, almost exasperatingly so. My shoulders slumped. That's right. Club mode was over now. But it was really heated today. It really was fun. Damn, Mion, she really knows how to fire people up. Me too. I got so fired up my head started to tingle. Especially Kei-chan. That was scary. I thought he was going to eat me alive there. It's work, so I guess there's nothing you can do, but it really is too bad. I really want to continue this some other time. Any time is good. How about we do it at the Watanagashi Festival? The Cotton Drifting 5 Demon Firefight. That's right. I'll think about it. Right now, what were Rika-chan and Mion talking about? Watanagashi Festival? Cotton Drifting 5 Demon? What? I love it when things turn out all over the top and manga-like. It'd be nice if we could have another thrilling club activity like this soon. She laughed with a smile that made you feel refreshed just looking at it. At that moment, the shop owner came out carrying a paper bag. I wonder what it is. Is he giving it to us? Thank you, everybody, for today. Thanks to you, the event went really well. It's not much, but here's a little something for you guys. Hey, Uncle Yoshiro. Isn't there a little something for me, too? My. Quite an adorable one, is it not? When Satsuko and Riko-chan opened up the bags, there were cute little stuffed animals inside. Wow! They're so cute! Can I take them home? I really can? Which means there's something for me too? Oh. I got a pretty adorable one. It was a stuffed toy wearing a beautiful dress, one you'd use to play house. Rena's eyes were glued to my stuffed doll. Satsuko was the same. And Riko-chan too? Kei-chan got the one that fits him the least. How do I say this? I could say it's pretty or cute. Well, I guess it's cute and pretty. I can admit it's adorable. But a doll with changeable clothes is. If you walked around with it, then you'd be treated like a weirdo starting tomorrow. Definitely. Mion didn't have to go that far. This wasn't something a guy like me should be carrying around. Mion was the only one who hadn't received a present, so I thought about giving it to her. After briefly considering, I gave it to Rena instead. Huh? You're giving it to me? To Rena? Thank you. Just protecting myself. If I didn't give it to Rena, then walking the streets at night would be scary. No doubt, no doubt. I thought about giving it to Mion, but it just didn't feel right. You know it. I sometimes wonder why I wasn't born a boy. It's better that you're a girl. If you were a boy, I would have killed you already. You should kill me while you still can. If you don't, Kei-chan, you might not live to regret it. Mion laughed after saying such an ominous line. Everybody laughed heartily along with her. Ask God to make you a boy in your next life. I'll also have him make me a boy. Then together us will start with taking over the country as a warm-up. Mion-chan, if you don't get going soon. The shop owner told her meekly. The lot of us looks like we were having a lot of fun, so it must have been hard to put a wet blanket on things. Later then. Today was really fun. I'll see you later, guys. Tomorrow at school. Don't be late for work. Everybody waved their hands and watched as Mion left. Before I knew it, the sun was already setting, and the breeze carried a hint of chill. Should we play for a bit more in town? Or should we go home? The road gets scary when it's dark. I guess it's time to leave. We certainly caused a ruckus today. We sure did. Okay. Let's go home. The wind blew gently, as if to cool those of us flushed with enthusiasm. The road back to Hinamizawa was long, but I didn't really mind. Oh, that's right. Rena-san, you achieved an overwhelming victory, didn't you? When Rena gets like that, I'm sorry to say, but there's no winning against her. It was because the cards were so cute. See? I bought them. How? Rika was the same as usual. When it comes to boys, it's like taking candy from a baby. It was an easy win. How much was calculated and how much was natural? I get scared when I think about how Rika will turn out in the future. Satsuko-chan was amazing too. The way it ended was really exciting. It wasn't the sort of game where I should be complimented. Oh! Keiichi, you also showed your fangs at the end there. Hmm? Well, I guess. I'm the type of guy who's strongest when he's cornered. Tomichi-san and the others seemed to be cheering you on really hard. What was that about? He made some sort of promise with Tomita and Okumura. It's probably a secret. A secret. Secret. Oh, I wonder what it is, I wonder. Ah, sometimes for a man, there are times we can only understand one another by fighting. Wah! Desperately laughing, I frantically tried to avoid the subject. After that, everybody continued to praise each other for how they defeated their opponents, and reflected on how fun today was. Everybody look! The sunset is beautiful! Satoko, getting even more excited, pointed, waiting where her finger indicated was an immense sunset. What is my cat trying to do? It's going after my computer monitor's stand. No! You can't do that. Now he's going after my hand. Satoko, getting even more excited, pointed, waiting where her finger indicated was an immense sunset, casting even longer shadows on our bikes. Ah. You got me, buddy. Yep, you got me. Ow. The cries of the Higurashi were gentle and very comforting. Ooh, sip break. You received a new tip. Who's Mion's uncle? View new tips. Yep. Sorry. I suddenly got called into my part-time job at my uncle's shop today. What's that? No club today then? Well, I'm sorry. Mion put her hands together in an apology and grinned. If you really want to do club today, then you can always do it without this old man. The club locker is stuffed full with games. You can pick whatever. The club locker was the trans-dimensional space from which Mion pulled games whenever we met for club activities. I wondered how so many freaking games could be stored in the locker. It was even smaller than the one with cleaning supplies in it. Besides those games, it was also a cornucopia of suspicious objects, costumes, for punishment games. If we lined them up on the floor in order to sort them, they would definitely fill the entire classroom. Nah, we shouldn't. I get the feeling that if I mess around in that locker, everything inside will come tumbling down on me. Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe amateurs shouldn't meddle with this. Mion gave a hearty laugh, implying that the only one who could do so was the club president. Me? The teacher's looking for the keys to the gym storehouse. Do you have any idea where it could be? Eh? Did I not return to the teacher's lounge? Mion said, feeling about in her pocket. Judging by her expression, she must have planned on returning it, but it was still in her pocket. I knew you had it, Mion-san. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that you simply must have been the one who had it. I was right, too. Satoko and I were both right. Giggling, Satoko and Rika-chan clapped their hands together in celebration. You're annoying. Slap clap. Mion elbowed Satoko and Rika-chan in their heads, then headed for the teacher's lounge. Oh right, have you two heard? Mion has a part-time job and that's why she's not coming to the club. Oh, is that so? That's so very droll of her. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh, that's how I should be laughing for her. Me. The two of them made disappointed faces. Whatever anyone said, Mion's club was always the #1 thing I looked forward to when going to school. It wasn't hard to agree with their melancholic expressions after hearing it wouldn't be happening today. So Mion's got a part-time job. I wonder what she's doing anyway. Whenever Mion cancelled club, it was usually because of her job. However, it also didn't seem like she went there every day. She would go 2 or 3 days in a row, then not at all for a while. It sounded like a pretty damn random part-time job. She isn't working at any one shop or anything. She isn't? Then does that mean she's a day laborer? Mion wearing socks and a helmet, sweating to death in a factory. I couldn't imagine such a thing. Mion's son helps her uncles out whenever their employees go on vacations. She's like a handyman. Ah, I get it. Now that you mention it, her having a job at her uncle's place. I think I've heard about that before. She has a lot of uncles who own their own stores, so Mia is in very high demand. She has a lot of uncles who own shops? A lot of them? Oh, you are unaware, Keiichi-san? Kept me a bit good. There are many relatives of Mion-san's in Okunomiya who run their own stores. Huh. I didn't know that. So they're all different kinds? Yes. There's a bakery, a produce market, a ramen shop, and many others besides. That toy store we went to for the club the other day is one of them. I was dumbfounded. That's amazing. Is Mion's family blessed with some kind of crazy business sense? They run so many different things, it's kind of amazing. There are others like a loan shark, a land shark, a strip club, and a brothel. All I'm saying is they do lots of things. Okay, a couple of weird things came up that time, but still. I could tell it was pretty extensive. So the reason she's so fussy about returning money she lent you is because of the blood of loan sharks run through her veins, huh? That explains that. Once I completely forgot to pay me back for money she gave me to go shopping. And she threatened me, saying that if I didn't return it at all, she'd throw me into the red light district, and that would be the end of me. Riki-chan being sold into the entertainment industry to pay off her debts. Ah, crap, my nose bleed. Dying by being thrown on the ground must be the silliest form of death I've ever heard of. Huh? She doesn't really get it, does she? Recently she seemed so unspoiled. Riki-chan and I gave her a pat on the head. Huh? Why are you petting me? Huh? We're petting you because you're a good girl, Satoko. Satoko was lost in confusion, but she seemed to understand she was being made fun of. That's that. I'll move on to the next one and save after that. I want to check something real quick over here. I wonder why afternoons always make you feel sleepy like this. Save. Save. I just want to check, because I'm going to be smart this time. Higurashi, Chapter 2, Chapters. How many chapters? That's all I want to check. 12 again. What's this? We're out of there. Mion spoke in a voice that went so far as to make whoever heard it lethargic. You want a medical explanation for sleepiness? I could say it, but it'll just make you more sleepy. Yeah, spare me. It was almost 3 o'clock. 6th period was almost over. By the way, Satoko and everyone else in the lower grades ended their school day after 5th period, so they were probably running around in the schoolyard right now. I could hear their joy-filled voices coming from there right now. Oh, what I would give to be able to join them. Michan, you're the class representative, so you have to try harder. No going to sleep. You see, rather than the class representative, I'd rather be the president of the boxing club. They get to sleep a lot. Huh? What makes you think that? At the boxing gym, they're always hitting the sack. Get it? Oh, that's a knee slapper. The teacher cackled as she hit the back of Mion's head with the corner of her textbook. That's all from me. I'll leave it at that for today. Representative, please direct the class. Everybody stand up. At attention. Man who had been half asleep became lively again the moment she heard class was over. It must be delightful to be that shrewd. Homeroom was done after the lower grades had finished their lessons, so we were free to go. It was one of the odd rules we had as a mixed-grade school. When they knew class was over, Satoko and Rika-chan returned to the classroom. Good work today. Alright, it's time for happy fun club activities time. Yeah, that's right. What should we do today? Hey, Michan, why don't we continue what we started yesterday? Yes, we should do that. To have it end like that when things were getting good, I won't accept it. Now, I know how you feel, but let's save that for another time. Something like that shouldn't be done somewhere dinky like a... That and shouldn't be there. That's definitely an A. After school, but a grander stage. I'm down whenever, but some of the younger guys said they'd watch me in the finals. So let me know ahead of time. Whoa! Keiichi-kun, you're amazing. There's people cheering you on. I wonder if there's anybody cheering on Rena. I couldn't help but watch as Rena entered her pining maiden mode. I'm not going to pull any punches, but I'll pray for your victory, Rena. With a saccharine Keiichi brand smile, I ruffled Rena's hair roughly. What? How? Keiichi-kun? What are you? How? Rena turned bright red and short-circuited, smoke billowing from both her ears. Gazing into her eyes, a strange scene of me holding hands with Rena and skipping through a flower bed was reflected there. Ah, even if it was in somebody else's imagination, it was terribly troubling. Meet Keiichi, the Rena killer. When Rika-chan said that, everyone burst out laughing at once. I gotta go blow my nose and move the cat out of the room. Sorry about that. Let me just make sure I'm not muted. I am not muted. So let's continue on. That Rena is a Satoko and Rika-chan killer, though. It may be true that we can't win against Rena, but we won't lose to Keiichi. Oh, this is becoming a pretty interesting relationship, Matt. Our strengths kind of interact like rock, paper, scissors. But that doesn't include Mion, doesn't it? Of course not. It doesn't matter who it is, I won't lose. Mion leered with a gaze befitting of a club president. No, befitting of an empress. The mood in the room became more lively. It was as good a moment as any to get started. Well now, let's get started nice and easy. Yeah, so then Michan, what shall we do today? Mion let out a small interjection as she rummaged through the so-called club locker. Club locker. Every time I look, there's always a ton of things crammed in there. Everything that's jammed in that locker is a game of some kind, you know? On top of that, things used for penalty games like cat ears and collars were kept in there. The capacity of that thing is unfathomable. That locker, maybe it actually extended through the wall into the fourth dimension. That's my theory, anyways. If not that, how else could you explain how someone could pull out item after item? After Mion touched her hand to her chin briefly in thought, she turned around without pulling out any games. Why don't we try and keep it a bit simple today? Playing games that require lots of pieces all the time can be a little bland, right? It doesn't matter what game it is. If everybody plays together, we can have fun. Yeah, that's right, that's right. Ren and I both expressed our agreement. I feel the same way. With this group, there's no doubt even if we were pulling weeds from the school grounds, it would be fun. That wouldn't be fun for me. Pulling weeds or whatever. Ah, that's right, isn't it? By the way, Satsuko, could you stop reading people's minds by looking at their expressions? Excuse me, sneezed. Whatever you're thinking is always written all over your face, so I always know right away. I've always been told that, but ever since I transferred, it seems like it's been especially bad. I need to develop a poker face or I could be in for a rough time. Alright, everybody pay attention. I'm going to explain the rules. We all immediately cut the idle chatter and put on stern expressions. In no time at all, everybody's focused like a tiger or a shark and listening intently. Probably another sneeze coming? That's right. From the point where the rules are explained, the match has already begun. Today's game is probably better known as a party game. It's called Sympathy. Has anybody heard of it before? Sympathy. It means to share someone's feelings, right? Huh? Maybe I might know this. Michan, maybe it's the game where we choose a topic and everybody writes down the first word that comes to mind? And the more people who share the same answers, the more points are awarded? In that case, Rena knows about it. I remember. I recall playing a game like that in grade school while we were on the bus during a field trip. I'm not familiar with this game. I would like an explanation. First of all, we have the leader choose a topic. For example, if they choose dessert. So, when someone says dessert, what's the first thing you think of? Cake. Ice cream for me. Let's see here. Pudding or something. Okay, in that case, Satsuko, you would write pudding on your memo pad. Then everybody reveals their answer at the same time. If there's 2 or more people who wrote down pudding, they get points. The more people who write down the same answer, the more points are awarded. So if everybody writes down the same answer, that's a max of 5 points. In other words, the trick is to think so that what you write down is the same answer as everybody else. It was exactly as Rika-chan said. The point of this game was to think in a way so that you have the same answer as everybody else. For example, even if you heard the word dessert and immediately thought of strawberry sundae. If your answer doesn't match up with everybody else, you don't get any points. That's why you have to hold off on that answer and change to one that seems like one everybody else will choose. The key becomes not what you think yourself, but being able to predict what everybody else will answer. It's a very high-level intellectual game. It actually takes a really high IQ to play Sympathy. Me, for Satsuko's sake, let's try practicing for 1 round. Okay, for this round, seeing as I'm club president, the leader will be me, alright? The topic can be something random. Taking out her literature textbook, she began flipping to a random page. Alright then, this is the only practice round. The first topic is shaved ice. When you say shaved ice, there's only one answer, isn't there? Blue Hawaii. Among the standard flavors of shaved ice, there's strawberry, melon, and blue Hawaii. The most popular amongst those is obviously melon. What? Strawberry is most popular. Everyone write down an answer? Then everybody show theirs at the same time, okay? Ready, go! Strawberry, melon. Uji Gintoki. Strawberry. Strawberry. What? I'm the only one with melon? You guys! Don't go do something so mundane as picking strawberries as standard. Hey Rena, would you actually order strawberry shaved ice? The first thing that always sells out at summer festivals is always melon, isn't it? Rena also likes melon flavor. But really, it's all about the strawberry, right? Right? Kei-chan, if I was to pick, I would actually choose melon. But you see, this is a word association game. If somebody says shaved ice, the first thing you think of is strawberry. I'm still not entirely convinced, but in any case, it's this type of game. Rika, what exactly did you write? Is that a type of shaved ice? It's Uji Gintoki. It's incredibly delicious, you know. Well, it might be delicious, sure, but it's not exactly run-of-the-mill. Still, that's a pretty refined choice. I'm gonna Google this. I don't think it's even... Oh, I forgot. I misspelled it, sorry. Oh, it's green tea flavored ice. That's all it is. Satoko, did this help you get a good idea? There were 3 people who wrote down strawberry, so those 3 people get 3 points. We compete to see who can get the most. Yeah, I got it. More importantly, Mion-san, what shall we do about today's penalty game? Oh, there's going to be one after all. What will it be? What will it be? What should it be? Kei-chan, you have a suggestion? What, for the penalty game? When I was in elementary school, there was a penalty game. Yeah. It can only be that. Schlepping. In other words, that thing where the loser has to carry around everybody else's baggage. It happened often to the boys. Elementary school kids walking around completely covered in backpacks. You see it a lot. But, how will we do that? Satoko-chan and Rika-chan's houses are the complete opposite direction from ours. Then how about the loser carries just the winner's stuff to their house? Getting everybody's stuff to their house would involve covering a pretty sizable distance. Oh yeah, just that much might be alright. Somehow today's penalty game is pretty simple. With a penalty game of this level, it wouldn't even be fun to make Keiichi-san do it. Then shall we raise the stakes a bit? Not just playing Porter. Flashbang. Ta-da! How about we have someone schlep stuff around dressed in this? What? Why a maid outfit of all things? How? It's cute and all, but no way! But you see? What do we do if Keiichi-san loses? If we don't have a size that fits him? It's like, oh, I didn't let that little detail get by. I have a nice XL-sized one prepared just for Kei-chan. So, Kei-chan, are you ready? I'm going to have you walk around outside dressed up as a maid. From the headband to the garter belt, even the underwear, I've got it all prepared for you. This is insane. Why do you have every possible size of that type of thing in that locker? This is bad, Keiichi Maibara. Somehow, it's become a situation where only my failure results in an overly cruel price to pay. What if I make a mistake and lose? I wouldn't be able to walk around in broad daylight anymore. Oh ma'am, about that Maibara boy. Did you hear about him? It seems like he has a penchant for cross-dressing. Oh my, really? That'd be so embarrassing, you know. Oh, yeah. That's way too harsh. That's just incredibly brutal. If we're to return this penalty to some semblance of normalcy, now is the only time. Everybody, I think we should refrain from this unwholesome penalty game. Why, on the way back home from school? Do we have to be accompanied by a girl wearing a maid uniform and carrying our baggage? Having them say master, while dragging them around the village in such an embarrassing outfit? Wait, why am I panting? What is this? This feeling welling up inside me. Hey, let's just make it a normal penalty game. Wait, Keiichi-kun is frozen stiff. Burning with passion, I firmly place my hands on Rena's shoulders. Rena, there's no problem with the penalty game. I just have to win. That's right, everybody. I turned to everybody with an idiotic grin, my pearly whites flashing with a brilliant gleam. Oh, Kei-chan, you come around to the idea, eh? No matter what the penalty game is, there's no reason to be afraid. You just have to win. Right, everybody? Yeah, yeah. Yeah! From Mion to Rika, everybody energetically thrust their fists up high. Only Rena seemed somewhat undecided, standing there looking flustered. She's a little bit slow, isn't she? If she wins even for Rena, it's quite a delectable opportunity. Hey Rena, don't you see this pretty big opportunity? Rika-chan and Satoko-chan in a maid outfit coming right to your doorstep. This is a historically great chance, isn't it? Sploosh. Rena began spouting a fountain of blood from her nose. The look in her eyes completely changed. She's shifted into cute mode. I was waiting for this, Rena. That look in her eyes. Oh, to my doorstep. It's not like Keiichi-kun or Mi-chan wouldn't be good too. How? Alright. It looks like everybody's prepared for themselves. Get your memo pads ready. First question, ready? Mion opened up her textbook to a random page and read out a word that caught her eye. First topic is summer break. The beach. This is yet another quite abstract keyword. Well then, let's not worry about it too much and start with something like this. Probably summer homework though. Everybody good? Time to show 'em. Ready, go! On Mion's signal, everybody simultaneously held up what they wrote. Let's see, what did everybody write? Summer festival. Summer festival. Fireworks. Mosquito coils. Oh, Ren and I have the same answer. Alright, 2 points. Wait, who's the 5th one? But Satsuko's fireworks were pretty good too. Rika's mosquito coil is a very nice seasonal choice as well. All the choices are quite invigorating. It's almost summer break, isn't it? I wonder how we'll spend it this year. Wait. What did he write? Yeah. He didn't answer. Invigorating words that invoke the image of summer break. Certainly things that enrich the soul. As everybody approaches the soon-to-come summer break, a plethora of dreams should be etched upon their thoughts. By the way, Keiichi-san, what did you answer? Hurry up and show us. Ah, I didn't really write anything that great. No. Showing us a part of the rules. Now come on. Ah, stop it. Don't look. Homework. The room went silent. Nobody could really follow up that response. It's as if my impertinent answer had somehow sullied the wonderful dreams of the coming summer break. Keiichi-kun's summer breaks were never fun, were they? It's alright. Let's spend the summer this year with everybody. We won't leave you by your lonesome. Rika-chan gently patted my head. What exactly did summer break mean to me? Summer courses, observing sunflowers, practice exams, special summer focus seminars. I know nothing of hot summers, because I've always been in an air-conditioned cram school. Ugh, the tears, they... Kei-chan's summer breaks were always devoid of hopes and dreams, weren't they? Don't look at me with such pity in your eyes. Don't look at me. This game called Sympathy may be more terrifying than I could ever have imagined. Well, anywho, Ren and I get 2 points each. Let's keep going. Next is fish. Salmon. Or fish sticks. Come to think of it, I haven't eaten sushi in a while. Oh, that's definitely the Japanese option. By the way, rather than lean tuna, I'm quite a connoisseur on things like flounder. I wonder who I'll match with this answer. Because for a Japanese person, anyone would think of this. Alright everybody, This time we'll start from mine. Ready, go! Sushi. How about that for an answer? When you see a lively fish, do you want to steam it or grill it? No, to have fresh sashimi is the epitome of cuisine. Rather than write sashimi, however, I'll choose a more amiable term in sushi. That is my cunning ploy. But contrary to the intrepid resolve of my reply, everybody's expression was listless. Oh, that's right. When you say fish, I see. Sushi is tasty, isn't it? Ah! Stop talking to me in that consoling tone. Stop it. Well then, should the rest of us show our answers? Ready, go! Dolphin, whale, aquarium, aquarium. Why would you say whale for fish? And dolphin. Rika and I have the same answer. That's 2 points. Rena picked whale, eh? I thought about that too, but I ended up picking dolphin. Ah, really? Rena wanted to write dolphin at first, but Rena didn't think anybody else would write it. Either one of them is very cute. Everybody excluding me stopped and stared blankly as their thoughts drifted over the horizon. It seems as if you can hear the roar of the open sea from over there. This means everybody has 2 points. Well, everybody but KH-san. KH-kun's answers were worth 0 points. But Rena thinks they were very unique and interesting. Interesting. To immediately think of food when you hear the word fish. KH-chan, you should really be ashamed of how destitute your soul is, huh? Don't say something like my soul is destitute. Besides, what's with Mion and Rena's answers anyway? Those aren't even fish. Those are mammals. Yes. Objection overruled. Next. What a horrid game this is today. As the games pile on and on, it seems as if I will be further exposed as a petty human being. I'm the only one who still hasn't earned any points. I want to at least get a point in the next round. Alright, the next topic is Sakura. So flower viewing or food. This time I'll do it. Keep your cool, Keiichi, my bra. Don't think what you would normally think. Everybody else here is a girl. Stop thinking like a man. If you write down Sakura Mochi here, you'll only be repeating the tragedies of the past. Throw away that gesture-centric male sensibility. Just for now, think of yourself as a girl. You are a girl. You are a girl. I am a girl. Just a second, I wanna... Just want to save that for later. Let's do it. Keiichi-san, if you don't start getting points right now, won't it be a bit dangerous? This time it's perfect. I had completely suppressed my own instincts. This time, I will have a match. No, I will make it match. Keiichi-kun, you seem pretty confident about this one. You see, this time Rena thought like a boy so I could match up with your answer. Sakura Mochi. I like them too. I wrote it down. Rena and Rika giggled together. Whoa! Now is not the time to think with your stomach. Well then, did Keiichi-san write the same answer as me? I put down Hanami. That's right. When you say Sakura, it just has to be Hanami, yeah? I wrote that down too. Mion and Satoko's response were Hanami. Hanami? Seriously? What? That's the kind of event where old users get drunk and doing all sorts of depraved things as a standard, isn't it? And why of all times did you just decide to abandon answering from a girl's point of view? Well then, Kei-chan, what sort of girly response did you write down? It's nothing. Let's move on to this next topic. Moving on. Ah. Before I knew it, Rika-chan had circled behind me and was intently reading the memo I hid behind my back. Card Master Sakura. Card Captor Sakura is written down here. Okay, that's a good one. It became dead quiet. The abrupt silence enveloped the room. It would be fine if somebody at least laughed at me or played it off as something dumb, but nobody even flinched. Wait a second, this was in 83. That shouldn't exist at this time. So that was his mess up. Nobody should know about it. The feeling in the pit of my stomach reached a critical mass, causing my once blood-drained face to flush with a sudden wave of heat. Sakura can only mean Cardmaster Sakura, can it? It's a super popular anime that's broadcast every week on the government-run networks. It's broken through to every demographic from little girls to grown men. You've seen it, haven't you? No, you've definitely seen it. Even I've seen it. Yeah. Even without the forced explanation, I knew about it. It's that thingy where she fights in a different costume every week, right? Yeah. I know. Yep. It's cute, isn't it? Rena sometimes browses through it at the magazine stand to keep up with the story. I saw it for the first time recently. Sakura is cool and so cheerful all the time. I like that girl who's always filming with the camcorder. It's not just popular with little girls, it's also surprisingly well received by older boys, isn't it? To think that Kei-chan was one of those. I felt like I had inadvertently blurted out something unnecessary and had completely self-destructed, but that wasn't the main problem. So you all know it, don't you? And why didn't you write it down? Sakura means Sakura Kinomoto. Sakura-tan. Cardmaster Sakura is the right answer. Boom. Mion quietly put her hand on my shoulder. Kei-chan. Now I am certain. Kei-chan, you are to your very core a geezer. Irrevocably so. Gah! Why is everybody looking at me with those eyes filled with pity? That's not true, Keiichi-kun. Okay. Let's do our best. Here's where the comeback begins. There's no coming back for Keiichi-san the geezer. Now give up quietly and accept your penalty. What was today's penalty game again? Dressing up as a maid complete with hairband and garter belt while carrying around the winner's stuff. No! Alright. If you're real members of this club, show me you won't let anybody come back from this disadvantage. Alright, let's keep it rolling. Oh, I can't believe they messed up that one thing. And I wonder, I gotta check the backlog and see if they wrote Cardcaptor Sakura there and messed up their writing. Or if the English translation messed it up. Let me see if I can. So first, pull up the menu, config, Japanese, backlog, going up a bit. Nata, don't know, no go, no. Namanaya, okay. Cardmaster Sakura, literally written as that. Alright, that's all I needed. Back to English. Whoa, Keiichi-kun seems happy? Why? How can this be? He's probably awoken to the joys of cross-dressing. Ah, Keiichi-kun, your hairband is going to fall off. Let me fix that for you. Rana cheerfully adjusted the hairband that had been enshrined upon my head. How does it feel, Kei-chan? Have you awoken to the pleasures of wearing girls' clothing in front of actual girls? Be honest now. It's alright. We won't laugh. You jerk. I'm gonna murder you. Swinging Mion's bag about wildly, I chased her in circles for a bit. I'm just gonna check that real quick, just to be sure that I'm not talking out my behind. Cardcaptor Sakura was written in 96. They really messed up. Today's loser was quickly decided to be me. While I had been assured of finishing last, Mion showed her true power. She began racking up points with an iron fist. In the end, we didn't even have to add up the score to know who was on top. After that, in the changing room, with much wailing and gnashing of teeth, pushing the boundaries of shame and brutality, I was instructed by Mion on how to put on everything from ribbons to underwear. Damn you, Mion. What do you mean, knowing that will come in handy one day? How the bloody hell will a man knowing how to put on a garter belt be useful? Shh. Kei-chan, you're too loud. If you stay quiet, you might be able to pass this off as rehearsal for a play. That's right. If I cause a scene here, they'll find out that I'm wearing women's clothing right down to the unmentionables. No! I shuddered from head to toe, resisting the urge to scream. Actually, Kei-chan, you have really smooth skin. Are you often told that it's easy to apply makeup on you? Saying that, Mion gently rubbed my cheek. What kind of man gets praised for being easy to apply makeup on them? How does it feel wearing a maid's hairband? It really finishes off the look. The hairband is the best part of a maid outfit, after all. What do you mean, finishes off the look? Dumbass. Stop teasing me. Cage-kun is embarrassed. Cute. That's right. Men like things like garter belts, right? So, how does it feel wearing one yourself? I don't really feel any... Hey, stop it. Don't flip it up. It's tight, isn't it? Can you feel it rub against your skin as you walk? Stop. Don't whisper such strange things in my ear. Oh. My miserable manhood suddenly shifted. Eek. You're turning red. You're turning red. Have you finally realized it? That's right. Right now, Kei-chan is exactly the type of maid that every healthy male wants. Stop it, Mion. Really, why do you have to whisper that right in my ear? Have you ever just wanted to hold a maid close to you? Kei-chan, you've currently become one with that maid. Don't you see? That's a distance far closer than mere touch can ever achieve. There, can't you hear that pulse? That breath? Mi-chan, that's... Oh... I gotta copy that too, just a moment. And that. Right. On the verge of overheating, a long red line flowed out of Rena's nose. Putting on makeup properly, making you wear a wig with the long, straight hair you like so much. Kei-chan, I've made you into your ideal woman. And now you're going to walk around town with me. You'll surely monopolize the eyes of all the men. That would definitely make you feel really good, wouldn't it? If only you didn't have this big thing dangling between your legs, you'd be a real girl. Saying that, she tried to flip my skirt. Well, this is definitely not the time. I can't let them see me with this male-centric problem. These lines are great to copy-paste after. Crash thud. Before I realized it, Rena was caressing my head and rubbing me with her cheek. Kei-kun, when you were fidgeting like that, you were super cute. I'm going to take you home. Peering through Rena's vice-like embrace, I saw Mion laying spread eagle on her back. I see. This must be what Satoko and Rika-chan feel like when they become Rena's prey. After that, it took quite some time to calm Rena down from her frenzy. Later, Kei-chan. Today was super enjoyable. You will rue this day, Mion. This disgrace shall be returned tenfold. I'll achieve an overwhelming victory, then condemn you to public shaming. Yeah, only if you can beat me. I look forward to seeing you try. Mion tossed my clothes and, looking in as good a mood as I've ever seen her, left. Okay now. Now that I've been released by Mion, I can't waste even a second running home. By the way, Ren isn't as good as Mi-chan, so if we happen to bump into anybody, I won't be able to follow up for you, okay? Soon after that, I went into a full-out dash. I'm pretty sure I was running the 100 meter in about 6 seconds there. Well then, Keiichi-kun. See you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow. The fact that I didn't bump into anybody I knew was probably divine favor for my constant good behavior. It's been going my way today. At that moment, the front door opened, as if somebody was waiting for me. Oh, Keiichi. So you're home. I was just about to go for a walk. I was dumbstruck by how slow my father was to react. A normal person would have realized the peculiar scene before them around. Oh, Keiichi. Ah, I'm Dad. This is, you see, you know that club I'm always talking about? This is one of the penalty games we do there. It just so happened I lost today. My dad placed his hand on my shoulder. It was an oddly moist and uncomfortably warm hand. Keiichi, let's have a little talk in my studio. We'll keep it a secret from Mom, of course. No, Dad, let me go. There's a show I want to watch right now. Mion, you shall rue this day. His artistic flame raging like wildfire. My dad dragged me along. I disappeared into the depths of the studio. Keiichi, are you home? Oh, you were in the bath. Is that makeup remover? Well, more importantly, what's the matter? Sorry, I have a headache and don't think I can make dinner tonight. I'm terribly sorry, but can you go out to eat with your dad? My mom is a go-get-'em superwoman at work, but it occasionally takes a toll on her health. So this kind of situation is hardly a rarity. That's fine, but what will you eat? If it's just for myself, I can probably find a way to scrounge something together. Take care. Keiichi, we'll take the car, so hurry up. And put on that maid outfit again. Dad quickly got the car ready. He must be hungry. He really only moves so energetically when it's time to eat. Sorry to keep you waiting. So, where are we going? To eat. I recently found a nice store. Let's go there. My dad usually only complains about things. For him to actually praise something is unexpected. I wonder what kind of place it is that he'd rank it 3 stars. As one who seeks the way of the gourmand, I, Keiichi Maibara, am genuinely intrigued. The headlights of the car cut through the early darkness of the Hinamizo night, carving a straight path towards the town. I was pondering where such a gem of a restaurant could be hidden away. It was shockingly the family restaurant right by the station. Dad, that great restaurant you were talking about, was this? The words Angel Mort were written on a very family restaurant-esque cartoonish logo. It had the air of a girl-oriented all-you-can-eat cake buffet rather than a proper restaurant. You never been inside, Keiichi? Come to think of it, I hadn't. There's been some times where I've traveled to faraway towns to eat, but returning only as far as Okonomiya Station, there was really no reason to dine out. Home was just a stone's throw away, after all. I see. That was the reason I never noticed it before. We stopped the car in the restaurant's parking lot. It seems like business is booming. There's quite a few cars parked here. But what really amazes me are the license plates. There's a lot of them that can't be from this area. Fukuyama, Nagoya, well, that's fine. Chiba? Saitama? Opening up my mental geography book, I calculated how long it would have taken to get here via the major highways. Keiichi, it seems that you finally realize how amazing this restaurant is. What's the meaning of this? How can so many people travel from so far away just to come to this restaurant? Following my dad, I climbed the steps and entered the building. And then the bell attached to the door clattered as we entered, and a waitress soon greeted us. After confirming our party size and whether we wanted a smoking or non-smoking seat, she guided us inside. Dad ordered 2 of the daily specials. It seemed that they were ready-made, so there wasn't much of a wait at all until our meals were brought to us. The taste was, no offense to Dad, not so different from your run-of-the-mill family restaurant. If you're just talking about the taste, it seems like normal family restaurant fare. Who gives a damn about the taste, Keiichi? See? Isn't it great? I see. It just may be that the food here might be nothing more than average. The demographic of the customers were pretty much all young men. It may call itself a family restaurant, but there wasn't a single table with a family. And yet it was packed. The parking lot was filled with cars from all corners of the country. If they didn't come from far and wide to eat this completely mediocre food, then there's only one other reason. Dad flagged down a nearby waitress. Excuse me, the dessert that comes with the meal still hasn't come yet. Oh, I'm so sorry. There's a dessert that comes with daily combo A. I've been waiting for quite a while. It's... My apologies, I'll bring it right away. The apparently rookie waitress rushed off flustered. Dad, could it be this restaurant is... Aren't they great? The waitress's uniforms here, I mean. Silence. Bam. What are you doing, Keiichi? My own father never hit me. I'm your son. Listen, Keiichi, I've never come here with impure intentions. That bell and attirante and eccentric clothing, well, effect, is my artistic muse. I wanted you to feel that. Even you must have yearned for this stimulation. Haven't you? Coming here alone, though, is a bit embarrassing. You understand. That's why I dragged you here. Just blame me. Even if you must condemn me, I wanted you to know this feeling. Keiichi! I need to take a leak. My father has always had a bad habit of trying to hide his embarrassment using incomprehensible nonsense as a smokescreen. I want to believe that this weirdness won't be genetic. Continuing his one-sided rambling, my father stood up and headed to the washroom. With him gone, I was left alone in the booth. Finally, at this time, a feeling of embarrassment welled up inside me. I had nothing to do but go beet red with shame. The waitress from before returned, her eyes alternating between the order slip and the table. Arriving at my seat, she hesitantly tried to say something. A more veteran waitress offered some advice from over her shoulder. Just calm down and say sorry for the wait. And now we gotta check the old art real quick. Because why wouldn't we? Well, at least they got the cleavage part of it, I guess. Now we go back to the updated. Terribly sorry for the wait. Right, just like that. Do your best. Whispering that into her ear, the veteran waitress left. This waitress must have just been hired. With an absolute lack of confidence, she moved hesitantly and made even somewhat perilously. Just watching her put me on edge. I silently watched as she placed the dessert on the table with an experienced hand. But it's just as Dad said. What incredible uniforms these are. They were like a bunny girl plus a maid plus some sort of frilly outfit. All in a perfect ratio. Most certainly a rather dubiously charming kind of fashion. In any case, she in no way appeared to be a proper waitress. What should I do? I was catching glimpses of too many things. That is, I didn't know where I should look. Wearing something like that walking around the restaurant, it's as bad as can be for digestion. Even though she was wearing the outfit, this particular waitress had no idea what to do either. This flustered state without a doubt should be attributed to the amount of bare skin. There's no of there. Rather than being new to the job. Both the waitress and I mutually avoided eye contact, with a platonically embarrassing feeling this is. I'm a customer, you know? It's alright to be more straightforward. Oh, my nose is starting to bleed. At that moment, our eyes just happened to meet. Both of us blinked, doubting who we were looking at. What? This is... Mion, is that you? Eh? On top of her hair being let down, she was so far removed from her usual confidence-filled attitude, I didn't realize it was her at all. It was Mion. Why is she here? Why are you working in a place like this? I'm helping out at my uncle's store. Come to think of it, I did hear her talking about how her relatives have stores in town, and that she sometimes works part-time to help them. Oh, that must be a lot of work. That nervous feeling I had dissipated in an instant. Knowing that this was Mion, there was no reason to feel that way. Well, actually, my animal instinct tells me that the power balance between Mion and myself has been turned upside down. That's right, I'm a customer. My position is superior to hers. The humiliation from today's penalty game was cutting through the recesses of my mind. There really is a God. For him to grant me this opportunity for revenge. Noticing the flames of vengeance burning in my eyes, Mion took a step back. But seeing it like this type of clothing suits you very nicely, doesn't it? It's embarrassing, so don't look so much. I confirmed my preemptive strike was a clean hit. There's no mistaking that Mion is currently defenseless. While confirming my attack was successful, I simultaneously lined up the combo. Mion, you have pretty big breasts. It seems like they're ready to spill out even right now. All the customers are definitely looking at you. Don't say that. Don't play coy with me. I know that you enjoy drawing all the male attention with that embarrassing getup. I mean, if you didn't, there's no way you'd dress up like that. It's not like I'm doing this because I like to. Is this alright, Keiichi, my brother? Aren't you taking this a little too far? Even if it's payback for that humiliation during the day, isn't this too much? Hey, shut up, Logic. To pay back Mion tenfold is a chance you'll hardly ever get. Wearing this kind of getup, your mother must be disappointed. That part where you can almost just see something is the best. Come closer. Please stop. You still lack the spirit of service toward your customers. Please forgive me. Oh, I want to take you home. No, not that. Entering a version of Rena's cute mode, blood spewing from my nose like a waterfall, I was going until I had no regrets. I was going to complete this verbal humiliation. Revenge for today's events. Yep, I'll spare you the rest for today. Oh. It seems that Mion's neural circuits had completely sorted from that embarrassment. I might have teased her a little too much, or so I thought. But such a meek Mion is something you hardly ever see, so this was good for now. Leaving aside what exactly was good. I never knew. To think that the high and mighty Mion would have a hard time being a waitress. Whimper, That's wrong. This is such a surprising side of you. I want to show this to the Mion from this afternoon. Actually, I want to show Rena and the others. Rena will definitely flip out with joy. Do you think she'll say she wants to work here? That's wrong. I can never imagine in my wildest dreams that such a cute Mion outfit would suit you, Mion. I'm saying that's wrong. While turning bright red, Mion finally spit out the words that were lodged in her throat. What do you mean? That's wrong. Not Mion. What? I was taken aback at Mion's confusing words. If you're not Mion, then who are you? You're Mion Sonozaki, right? I'm sorry. I should have said this earlier, but my name is Shion Sonozaki. Mion is my older sister. My eyes unconsciously widened with surprise from this brazenly crazen talk. Mion, probably thinking that there was no way such a far-fetched excuse would work, turned bright red while fidgeting nervously. Shion. Shion Sonozaki? Yes. I'm often mistaken for my sister. But when we met, you had the kind of response that you wouldn't make if we were meeting for the first time. That's because my sister's always talking about you, so I knew who you were. A little bit of a cringe-worthy excuse, that is. But when I looked at Mion's eyes, which begged me to believe her, the urge to tease completely subsided. To us, Mion had to be a leader who was overflowing with confidence, a guiding force. If I were to lash out at that Mion, I would have ruined something I shouldn't have. That was something I would never wish for. So I understand. This foolishness here is something very different from the everyday Mion. That's why she's Shion. I see. In that case, I'm sorry. Oh no, as long as you understand. My sister has a lot of enemies, you see. Well now, she's self-aware of that fact now, is she? As I unintentionally laughed aloud, Mion, no, Shion, laughed with me. Shion, is this your first time being a waitress? It doesn't seem like you're used to it. Actually, today's, Kei-chan is my first customer. A little flustered after saying that, she quickly asked if it was okay to refer to me the same way her sister did. Seeing that blatant quirk was so cute, I couldn't stop laughing. So you said you worked part-time at your uncle's stores before? I thought you would have been more used to it. Oh, I have other relatives that run shops. That's why this is the first time I'm helping the uncle that owns this place. I see, makes sense. Anybody would be tempted of doing a job they weren't used to. Does Mion ever help out at the store? Oh, my sisters, you see. She's not good with these cutesy things. I know what she's trying to say. That's right. Mion is more suited for cool things. So I think having you help out here was the right choice. Huh? Shion asked, probably thinking she misheard me. That uniform, it would never suit somebody like Mion. But for Shion, I think it works. Huh. You mean that... Shion, like Rena often does, spaced out and turned bright red. What does that mean exactly? At least for this moment, felt like this Shion character actually existed. Because there was no way that the Mion I knew had this side of her. At that moment, we realized that the more veteran waitress was waving at us from across the room. Sonozaki-san, you can take your break now. Okay. Mion finally returned to her senses. It seemed as if it was time for her to take her break. Well then, I'll take my leave. It was fun talking to the infamous Kei-chan. Sorry for mistaking you for Mion and teasing you. Please tell Mion that I will have my revenge one day. Ah, that thing where you were forced to dress as a maid and walk around outside, right? That devilish laugh and smile was exactly the same as the one I knew. That's right. Tell her that I will return the favor for the total humiliation I suffered. Bleh. More importantly, I'm going to complain to my sister about the teasing I had to endure today. My sister will have my revenge during your club activities. Bring it on, I'll get her before she gets me. Mion laughed with a warm smile devoid of any remaining nervousness and disappeared into the back. I felt like I had a very valuable experience today. That's right, for now, I know the high and mighty Mion has a weak point to panic and get embarrassed about. But of all things, for her to say she has a twin sister. I thought that maybe I should ask Rena tomorrow if she really has a sister. But maybe it's better that I didn't ask. It's a bit mean-spirited. I've decided that the person I met here today was Shion, the younger twin sister. So I'll refrain from doing anything that would deny that. It's not that we actually made a promise or anything. But that little exchange gave birth to a new rule between me and Mion. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder. It was my dad. That was a long trip to the washroom. He probably came up with a new idea for an art piece when he was sitting on the can. Keiichi, are you about ready? Let's go home. Settling the bill, my father had his customer card stamped. It was pretty much filled. Damn, Dad, you're quite the regular customer. Was that new waitress just now somebody you know, Keiichi? Oh, so we were watching from the shadows. Dad has the oddest sense of tact sometimes. Somebody from school? From Hinamizawa? Yeah, she's the little sister of my friend Mion. Her school is in Hinamizawa, so she must go to one in town. I've never seen her at my school. So not all the kids in Hinamizawa go to the same school? Only about half. The other half all go all the way into town on their bikes. In this way, the feeling that I was really talking to Shion came to me. What should I say to Mion tomorrow? I met your little sister, something like that. Even with Mion being like that, us having a secret between the two of us made me both a little happy and a little embarrassed. Is that the end of the chapter? Oh, it is. So we can enjoy the tips. All about Angel Mort. Is there really a Shion? Huh? Mion-san's family? Yeah. More broadly, I was just wondering if she had any brothers or anything. I was actually wondering whether her younger twin sister named Shion really existed. And my curiosity got the better of me, so I quietly asked Satoko about it. I wonder. She might not. She wasn't being very clear about it. Had Satoko never gone over to Mion's house to play? From your reaction, I guess you've never met any. Yes. I've never seen any of her relatives except for her grandmother. As far as I could tell, there were already dark clouds over the Shion is real theory. Rika would know more than I. You would do well to ask her. Satoko waved to Rika-chan, who was basking in the sunlight. Rika! Do you know anything about Mion-san's family? Rika-chan was surprised at the sudden question. Mi has a big family, so I don't really know everything about them. That many, huh? For example, is there someone named Shion Sonozaki? Well, I might have heard wrong, so she might not actually exist, but... You mean she? Shion exists. Huh? That was unexpected. So she was real. Their names are quite similar, you know. I can get tongue-tied trying to tell the difference. I've heard she's Mi's younger twin sister, but I haven't met her too many times. Rika-chan knew a bit about her as well, but hadn't seen her as much. I think I met her once at a funeral a few years ago. She's not in this class, so maybe she goes to school in Okunomiya. She may live there too. Mion-san herself lives apart from her family with her grandmother, after all. She didn't live with her parents? That was a bit odd. Was there something between them? It's a very complicated family. She seems to have many relatives. There are doubtless many different circumstances. For now I learned that she had a younger twin sister named Shion, but her family structure, including her own position, still seemed very mysterious. Oh, what are the three of you talking about? Let this old man in on it. Oh, Mion-san, you've come at a good time. Might it be true that you have a younger twin sister? Ah, Mion, crap. A younger sister? Well, yeah, I do. Mion grew uncharacteristically red in the face, at a loss. I think she's looking at me. Oh my, I had no idea. What kind of person might she be? I would very much like to meet her sometime. You shouldn't bother. She's not cute at all. She's really conceited. Besides, other than talking to her on the phone once in a while, I haven't seen her for a long time either. Why did it look like she was in such a panic? It's like she was declaring that Shion from yesterday was actually a fake. Anyway, this was pretty funny, so I let it go for a little while longer. Another Mion under the name of Shion. Will I be able to see her if I go to that restaurant again? I had a mysterious feeling, as if I had made a new friend despite knowing that she and Mion were the same person. Introduction to Angel Mort. Reprinted from the Victorious War Photographer's Guide, April issue. Complete Conquest Analysis. Family Restaurant Chapter. Now at last we come to the blazing hot third day. To Angel Mort, a super famous restaurant and the envy of all enthusiasts, despite being located in the remote Shishibone city of Prefecture. Why exactly do the most famous stores avoid the centers of human habitation? It can only be because it is a trial given to us by the god of war photography. It's famous locally for having the best desserts in town, but that matters not to us. If you want expensive desserts, then you could just go to a censored place or something. We aim not for sweet treats, but for sweet uniforms. The fragrant aroma of sweat wafts from these obligatory waitress uniforms, creating no less than a public torture device. How can their bashful flirtation be on par with all the other restaurants with cute uniforms all across the country? War photography hunter. Away! The smoking areas are the real superpositions. Aim for your chance at them with the tenacity of an octopus. Ryu, yesterday I failed to get seating. Today I will aim for the ultimate golden seat, the corner box in the smoking area. Otaku are overwhelmingly non-smokers, so I'll procure a spot in the smoking area and set up camp there. As expected of Ryu the Hunter, he's saying his victory was decided the moment he chose his seat. In actuality, Ryu used the same tactic during the grand opening of Akihabara's and succeeded in getting the best seats in the house. Back then, he also went early in the afternoon, just after the lunch rush, and not only did he find his target seat empty, he also obtained it with ease. By utilizing such tricks such as ordering a little at a time, he effectively increased the number of opportunities for engagement, carefully scoping out his chance for a picture. But, as if cursed by that from the day before, the god of war photography did not smile upon him. After suffering successive firm defeats until 3 p.m., he finds no chances coming his way. After 4 p.m., a man begins to take his orders. It looks as though he has been seen through. It is the rule of a hunter to withdraw with grace once marked. Ryu, my aim was perfect, but the fork technique I used at 2:30 p.m. seemed to have backfired. Maybe they were wary since I sat in a booth and left my bag on the floor. My camera was already ready in my travel bag. I might fossilize in there. If there were 2-digit EGs involved for sticking here half the day, I'd have a high encounter rate. I am mortified. Even so, he still got a few pieces of gold, as to be expected from the hunter. He attained this nice angle despite lamenting his failure. He is an artisan. More surprising, though, is that this uniform conquest across Japan has yielded not a single arrested person. What an amazing start for the hunter who brags about having been to approximately half of the total prefectural police stations in the country. That thing the day before. The day before, our hunter took on the shrine-maiden cuisine in Nagoya. His hunter spirit showed through too zealously, and as soon as he entered the store, he was seen through, placed in a booth, and waited on by the head priest. Despite waiting half a day, the much-anticipated shrine maiden appeared only at the time of his first order. A seriously huge blunder for a hunter. Now then, here we have the giveaway of the hunter's original photographs that always receive such high praise. We'll present one passionate reader with 3 all-you-can-eat low-angle pictures of the Angel Mort uniforms, chosen by the hunter himself. With such blazing hot pictures, you too can become a... Oh. That was a bit hard to read. Oh well. Gonna start the next chapter and save and quit. Let's see if I can read that. Yes. With such blazing hot pictures, you too can become a war photographer today. We'll stop here, save, start of chapter 2, or start of chapter 3. And that's it for today. Tuesday night we begin Arma Stilton's mansion in Dishonored 2. Y'all have a good day.